have water, we can drink, we can survive. The sun is the source of energy. The earth is the source of gravity. Gravity makes the earth stays around the earth, make us develop bones, make us fight all our life to stand against gravity. Plants have to stand against gravity. Gravity is a potential energy that keeps us fixed and be able to manage our affairs. The sun provides us with energy. That odd twin of energy and force, of gravity and solar energy, it made life possible. Explains every machine, whether we design or nature designs. Machines have to use energy to create force, or use force to create energy, or convert, whatever you like. The price of conversion doesn't come cheap. It's something you have to lose in the middle. The earth pulls you down. You have to use energy to fight, to stand up. When you fail to convert, to exploit, use energy, the gravity will get you to stop, to cease living. Every person who fails to exploit energy will have to die. So the process of illness, sickness, weakness is a sign that the animal, the organism, cannot extract energy, cannot exploit it, cannot use it to produce a force that fights the force of gravity. That is the simplest definition of health and fitness and sickness. You are healthy if you can extract energy from the sun and stand on earth. You are sick if you fail to extract energy from the sun and the gravity overcomes you. Same thing happened to nations. Nations fight for oil. You have oil, you can control the oil resources, you can sell them, you can make a lot of money because oil is the source of energy that comes from the sun. What do you use oil for? You use oil to produce force. The force is going to move the automobiles, you can build factories, you can build life, you can build civilization. If you fail to control the sources of fuel, the sources of energy, you will fail to control the sources of force. Aeroplanes have to have force. The force have to work the jet, the propellers. Tanks have to have force. Cars have to have force. Force comes from energy. Energy is stored in oil. Oil comes from the sun. The reason that you have to have force for all civilization, machineries, military, because you have to fight gravity. That's simple. The sun gives, the earth takes. The earth gives, the sun takes. Does the sun take anything? No, the sun gives the energy. That's it. Does the earth take everything? Yes, the earth takes everything. The earth brings everything down by gravity. The question is why is Earth is having gravity? It is the same question why electrons have a charge, why protons have a positive charge, why electrons have a negative charge. Why does Earth have gravity? And why is gravity is working all the time? If the Earth is producing gravity 24/7, forever, does the Earth have to burn energy to produce force? It must do that. How it does it, we don't know. If the Earth have magnetic field, that's one of the puzzles that we never tried to find the reason for it. A magnetic field that extends from the North Pole to the South Pole have to have an explanation that is a current that is rotating around the axle or the axe between the two poles, the axe of rotation of Earth. It means that the current is the surface is the Earth itself, the body of the Earth that is rotating around the axis of rotation. That current, or the body of the Earth, is creating an electric current that's producing the magnetic field that cannot be like wires or coils. There are no coils around them, but the Earth seems to be acting as coils of its own. So another way, the mass of the Earth are acting like electric current that produce the magnetic force. That force is strikingly amazing because the magnet is so huge. Talking about a magnet that's as long as 12,000 feet long. How do you get a current, electric current, to produce a magnet that huge? We figure something. We figure because you have electromagnetism, because you have magnetism, you must have electric current. When you have electric current, you have to have magnetism. We never figured out what is gravity. What is making the field of gravity? Does gravity have a twin? Like electric is a twin of magnetism. Electricity is a twin of magnetism. But gravity doesn't seem to have a twin. The other option is that we can assume that gravity is a property of matter but doesn't show up unless you have a lot of matter, a lot of protons. We don't even know that. Like gravity is still going to be the biggest mystery in nature. It's not the biggest. Everything in nature is a mystery. Because if you look at the issue of absorption and emission of radiation, we can figure out a way of saying absorption is meaning that you add a wave to a group of waves. So the waves will just have increased by one. That's absorption. Because you have to assume that particles are waves. We have no other choice. If particles are made from waves, then then radiation add to them another wave, we call that absorption. When they emit waves, they kick one of their waves, we call that emission. That's easy to do mathematically. Mathematically use Fourier expansion. You make a series of different waves of different frequencies. You can make any shape you want of particles as a potential, made from a summation of waves of different frequencies that can, when you add them together, they make a lump. Outside that lump, they interfere destructively and they vanish. That's a beautiful way of simulating a particle. What proves that theory is correct, that particles are made of waves, is the fact that you can explain orbits in terms of when the waves lump together, they make the core of the particle. On the boundaries of that core, you create orbits. The orbits are just like a Bessel function, the damping effect of waves. And as you go away from the core, the waves become less and less intense, which tells you that you have orbits of high energy close to the core, and the orbits of lesser and lesser and lesser energies at the periphery. And the orbits have suborbits, because they have some subwaves, sublets or wavelets. So the waves is a brilliant idea of explaining what particles are, what absorption is, what emission is. Now that takes you back to the mc square equation. If mass is a bundle, if mass of particles is a bundle of waves, you know that waves have to travel at the speed of light. But that's what we understand. So you lump all these waves together and you make them equal to m, which is the mass that we know. Then you multiply them by the speed of light, they tell you the energy content of the mass. We call it the energy equivalence of the mass. But that's a good idea? It's absolutely not. Unless you express the mass as a lump of waves. How do you do it? The reason it is not, and it cannot be the mc square, is the fact that you multiply the frequency by the Planck's constant to get the energy. So you have to find for every particle, how many frequencies you can add together to make the particle. If you find that spectrum of frequencies, each frequency has to be multiplied by the Planck's constant. Get the energy in each frequency. if you reach the brilliant conclusion that energy have to equal to the mass, since you multiply the mass by c squared, we have a problem with the equation. Like too many equations that were driven algebraically were adopted because of the convenience and the ease, not because they make any sense. When you discuss the subject of inspection of a truck, what is the main theme? The main theme is the balance between energy and force. Everywhere you go in a truck is just a machine. It's one fundamental object to supply the truck with energy, produces force. The force to make you move the goods from the shipper to the receiver. Finished. So we are dealing with force and energy. Everything in between, everything in the truck have to serve that purpose. Either use energy to produce force or use force to produce energy. The energy in the diesel fuel, that energy in the piston, in the engine, will be exploded, combusted, to produce force in the cylinders that will move the crankshaft. We made a brilliant design of making a rotation motion out of a linear motion. The pistons move linearly by combustion. The crankshaft spins by torque. We converted energy into force, converted force into torque, we converted torque into momentum by making the truck moves. When the truck moves, it has energy. It becomes an energized projectile with controlled electronics and mechanics. When we run out of energy, we run out of force.